being that it's near the holiday season, I thought I'd tell a story about a toy company that was on the verge of closing and how we used our network to help save the company. Ravinia Capital, as most of you know, is an investment bank. We primarily sell companies. We're known for really aligning ourselves with the interests of the clients, putting ourselves in their shoes and saying, if I were them, what would I do? And sometimes that means a process that includes us, and sometimes it doesn't. It means going to our network and bringing somebody else in that's going to help improve the situation, knowing that if we build up the credibility, at some point it's going to be good karma. So I'm going to tell you the story of an arts and craft toy company, Fibercraft, that we were referred into by some lender friends of ours. Mitch Rasky and Eric Dorner both referred us that they were going around looking for a new loan, and the lenders, as they often do, said there's no chance. You should talk to Ravinia, and you need somebody on your side that can help you figure out what's the best way forward. Fibercraft was a multi-generation family company. It had been very successful. You probably heard of the Cabbage Patch dolls. They really benefited from that in the 80s as an exclusive distributor. So they had made a lot of money. They had invested, improved their overhead, and they'd gone along like that for a long time, kind of becoming complacent. At some point before we got in, they suddenly had lost their largest customer, Walmart, who pulled out their business from them, and all of a sudden the company, from being profitable and somewhat lazily so, became unprofitable. So when we got in and got engaged, the first thing we needed to do was figure out, where's the value here? What's the plan? I should say that the company, before we got there, was really struggling. They were not communicating well with their vendors. A lot of them were in China, and they were stopping shipping, so they were falling behind on that. And they had a very bad relationship with their lender, asset-based lender, Ravinia Capital out in New Jersey, who was an excellent lender, but the company wasn't communicating with them, wasn't delivering on their promises, and was in default. So it was pretty bad. When we got there, there was talk about, maybe payroll can't be paid this week, and everybody's panicking, and we're kind of used to these things, so we look at that and go, okay, this is good, because it'll help our story and our award application later if we succeed. So the first thing we did is try to assess, what is the value, what can be done here, and this is where we use our network. One of the things we saw is that the company had lost its CFO a couple months before. This is not uncommon in distress situations. The accounting wasn't very accurate, not reliable. We had members in our network that are temporary CFOs or do 13-week cash flow, so we brought in a gentleman, Alan Friedman, that we worked with, helped work during the engagement. The company also was very weak in leadership, had no marketing ideas, so we brought in a CEO that we worked with in the past, Dan Schur, who has toy industry experience, to beef up the team and help add value to the company. There were several things that we did along the way, and just so you know, there was about 20 different individuals in our professional network that we ended up using one way or another to help during this deal. Different lenders, lawyers, accountants, diligence folks, all sorts, beefed up our ability to deliver the best result. After we had the plan in place, we went down, and it took only 2 weeks because we didn't have a lot of time, to New Jersey. We flew and met with Northmill and try to get them to be on board and a partner in what we were doing. We let them know right away that we respected their position because they were fully collateralized. And we said, we understand you could just, and the company hasn't been communicating, you could just pull it, but we've got a better idea for you, a win-win. And if you can give us this chance, because we've done this before, there's value here, but we need 120 days. And if you'll do that, during what's called the forbearance period, when a default and they give you more time, we'll increase the interest rate, but we'll also give you a payout fee if we are successful. We'll make sure that none of the vendors who are late payment will stick to a cash budget and nobody will get paid ahead of you. And we'll be communicating and monitoring. And if we get a buyer, when we get a buyer, we'll put you in position to potentially be the lender because they're going to be more interested to know that you actually like this company if it was properly capitalized and run. So they were a little wary. They hadn't done anything quite like this, but they said, we'll give it a go. And so the next thing to do was to get the vendors online and to be buy into the plan. So we went over to China with some of the management of the company and met with the vendors and tried to speak and get across the message that if you guys, we understand that you haven't got paid, and I get it, that really sucks, but if you guys will continue to ship this company and we can get to the end of this process and we get a new buyer in, this new money that will come in will go to pay your past bills and you'll have a new a client that continues. So that worked, and talk to me later at the party. We can talk about some stories on that trip that I won't bring up now, but that was successful. And we then also simultaneously were looking, how can we show this company losing money that there's value here? We didn't have time to fully turn it around, but we did have time to demonstrate that this company had a lot of low-lying fruit. So, like as an example, the company, let's say they were making this product. They didn't make wine glass, but they were making toys. But the way we discovered right off that the company wasn't purchasing, they were placing orders. So what I mean by that is that they would develop a new product and design it and send it off to China and get a cost for that product. And it would be an initial small run because they didn't know if the new product would work. So for $1,000, what's the price? And they'd say, for that item, it's going to be $2. And they said, okay. And then what they would do is keystone it or double the price. If it was $2, they'd sell it to a retailer at $4, and they went on like that. And, just like most new products, most don't work, but some do work. The thing that this company never did is they never went back and rebought them. Now they're doing 100,000 with this item. So we took the top 10 selling items by volume and re-quoted them with their vendors. And when we were in China, we were able to visit, and we were able to get an average on those items of 50% savings. Because as everybody knows, it's a lot cheaper to make 100,000 of something than 1,000. And it's even more, even if it wasn't, negotiating with 3 vendors for something is always going to end up with a better situation. So that was one of the things. There was lots of other things that the executives we put in were able to improve it. Lots of overhead that was easy. So we were able to demonstrate to any buyer that came in, yes, the company's losing money, but see, we've already started buying things at 50% less, and the overhead will be less. So you can see how this company can be profitable. And it also had something that was really valuable. They had spots in all the leading retailers, like at Michael's, at Target, and everybody. And that takes a lot to get into. So they had placements that could be done a lot more. So and simultaneously now to doing this, what we did is we're running a process. And we do this at Ravinia. Our theory is that we want to put the company and show its value. And we want every buyer that's a qualified buyer, because you don't know what their interest is, and you can get really surprised. So we want to find what we call tail buyers, people that kind of value it for their own reason way out here, even if the average is here. It's particularly important in a distress case where you have to, get the creditors paid back. So we went in this case, and this is not unusual for us, it might sound shocking, but to over 1,000 potential buyers, private equity funds, people in the industry, family offices, and we do this efficiently by not only having a teaser and sim like other investment banks, we also have a webcast in the middle of the process so that we can kind of more efficiently have a management meeting with a bunch of buyers at once and then weed out who really is interested. In this case, we found a Perpetual Capital, a family office that just started 1 year before in Washington, D.C. They just sold their newspaper empire for several $100 million and needed to invest money to avoid some type of tax amount. And the owner was collecting toy companies like toys. So he had just bought 2 other toy companies within the year. One was a toy train company. He was very interested in this because he could play with the crafts. So he ended up, it was no problem, the price. So that's what happened. We had a successful transaction. And so this transaction was a win-win-win-win. It was a win for the vendors because they ended up getting paid back not just on their current shipments, but back to their old bills. They had a new customer that was well capitalized. It was a win for the bank because the bank not only made money during the forbearance period, they made a payoff fee at the end, and they were lined up and started lending to Perpetual after that. And it was a win for the owner because he got out of what was a frightful situation where he had personal guarantees and he could have lost his house and everything on this. He got out of this unscathed with some capital. And it was a win particularly for the employees because they went on and the company perpetuated. We find that these days particularly where there's so much capital and so few companies to buy, that this way, that every company that's over 50 million, size is more important than the stress, has value and is worth more as a going concern than a liquidation. I look out at the crowd here and I see a lot of people that have started businesses, that ran businesses. So you all know it's like 50 million, it's not a big company, but it takes a lot to get to 50 million. It takes a lot to get to 25 million. That first 5 million is tough. So there has to be some reason customers wanted to deal with you and pay you that much revenue. And if you got that going, you've got stuff going there that's valuable. So we find if we can just show that value. Now, it might be that you're in a bad spot right now and losing money. It could be that you're in a bad cycle. It could be that something just came out of the blue like tariffs all of a sudden. It could be that you had an accident or an explosion in the plant and you just lost a key customer. It could be you got really crappy management that can be improved. Or like what's happening a lot is that you over-leverage yourself and now you need a new capital infusion. But what we find, there's value there and the company is worth more from being liquidated. The receivables are easier to collect, the inventory is worth more as a going concern, and the customer list and trademarks are certainly worth more, not to mention that company keeps going. So we need your help and partners. It's important that we know what all of you do because we are not an international investment bank that has hundreds and hundreds of employees that are all specialists. We depend on our network. So we try to bring forward the best of our network, and we want to be your eyes and ears, and we want you to be our eyes and ears. So if you see a situation out there, a company that is in trouble but could have value, or you see even just an owner that wants to cash out big and improve the company, call us and we'd love to work together. So that's the presentation.